And welcome into In-Game Chats for Saturday, June 21st, 2025, Season 19, Episode 20. I'm Scott.
And I'm RJ.
Welcome into the show, everybody. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then do so by reaching out to ingamechat.net. There you'll find all the links to get in touch with us. You will find us on Twitter, on the Blue Sky. You'll also find us on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We're hanging out there as well. You can also find us on Twitch, which we're streaming right now, twitch.tv. Go there and you can, watch the show live, join in the chat room live, or hit up our Discord. And we've got little rooms in there where you can chat with other people, or you can listen to the show live and chat with us on the air if you'd like to do that as well. Discord is that option for you. Before we get started, let me go ahead and get the clapping out of the way, the thing we do to clap, clap. Ba-ba-da-da-da. Plop, 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 plop. Welcome in to the show for this weekend. I don't know, what have you been playing? What's going on, man?
Well, I'm trying to get used to playing the First Ascendant on the PS5 now because support ended for the PS4 on June 19th.
Right.
So it won't even allow you to play the game. It just tells you that basically this format is not supported anymore. As in, I thought it was going to be no more updates or things like that. It's just going to be some default setting and that's it. That's all we're going to get, right? No, it won't let you log in at all. So you have to play it on the PS5 now because it's one of the platforms that it's on now. So I guess it's PC and PS5 and I guess the current generation of Xbox now.
Yeah, you didn't have any problem moving your character, or I say moving your character, but signing into your account or whatever.
No, it was already linked.
Everything good?
Yeah, so all the progress I've made this far has transferred over.
Those usually go smoothly. I was just,
Yeah. The only thing was the settings of the game was not there. So
that usually doesn't carry over.
Yeah, I had to redo everything that way. And I also had to get used to the controller for the PS5 because there's a lot of features on that controller that I wasn't used to.
Does the game take advantage of some of the PS5
The game has some features in there that I didn't know about.
Like the touchpad and stuff?
I guess the touchpad has functions and all that stuff, yeah, but there was something else. It was exclusive to the controller itself. There was a feedback option on the accessories for the controller itself because I noticed that as I was playing the game, when I'm in the lobby, there was no issue with the left and right triggers or buttons. They were smooth as silk. Nothing was wrong. But when I was in the field of play on a mission, the right trigger in particular had this little hitch in it. And it was only during the time I was playing. So I'm thinking, this is not a controller issue because
I was about to ask. It was like, you identified that.
Yeah, there's some setting somewhere that I don't know anything about. So I had to go to YouTube. I just put in stiff PS5 trigger, and all these results came back and told me exactly what it was. There was a setting there of feedback for your triggers during certain modes of play. And it was set to like strong, and I noticed it was a really stiff click, something that impeded my trigger from going down smoothly. So I just had to go in there and turn that thing off and make sure it went smooth as silk. So it was just a setting I didn't know about.
That's not bad.
So there's a whole bunch of things about the controller and everything that I don't know about because I've been playing PS4, PS3 all this time. So PS5 is still new to me. So I'm just figuring things out as I go along. But playing through the game itself, no issues. Just getting my dailies, weeklies, and events thrown out because they put a new summer event in there.
Yeah.
It's going to last about maybe 30 to 45 days or whatever, maybe longer than that. But just play every day, and you get free stuff every day that you play, up to 42 days from one event. And the one that they just had recently should be closing up now because that was 28 days, and I've got everything in there already, going through that. So it's just been leveling up and playing that. Playing more Virtua Fighter 5, of course, for league play on the weekends. Then there was a little bit more Balatro, and again, I had the ugliest Joker setup ever. Nothing good in that one.
Got some gaming in.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get that in. I still can't get past that last bit to get to open up more decks to open up. So I'm just still going to be plugging away until I get that thing because RNGs has forsaken me that week. I just couldn't get a good Joker to help me with my run. And I did, following your suggestion, I did get to play a bit of, not too much, but a bit of the Cleared Hot. I downloaded it and I tried to play it, And
hope you had a controller hooked up to the...
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't have a controller hooked up, and man,
I would not even attempt to play that on the mouse and keyboard.
I did. I did try to play it on mouse and keyboard. It was not good. Yeah. I am not a mouse and keyboard guy for it.
That's not a game for a mouse and keyboard, to be honest with you. It's really not.
Yeah, it's not. So when I get a controller hooked up and everything, I'm going to give it an actual good run through and see how that goes.
If you've got a if you've got a USB-C no, your PlayStation controller plugged into your computer will work.
Okay.
Like you don't have to do anything. There's no
setup, no drivers, no nothing. Just
your computer will download what it needs to download for it.
Yeah.
But it's not like you've got to go around and grab a program to put in so that will work.
Right.
You just plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's USB-C. So
I got cables.
Yeah, and if you've got one, which you should have, because I think the PS5
comes with one. It's really short and ridiculous. So I got another USB-C cable. So
yeah.
I've got.
As long as one end is USB-C to plug into the controller, and the other end is or whatever. I don't know what your computer takes.
So I got twice. I've got one that's both ends are USB-C, and then I got one where it's USB-C and normal USB.
But does your computer have a USB-C port on it? Or is it all USB?
No, but like I said, I got both types of USB-C cables.
Okay,
so
good.
I can hook it up to the computer if need be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And AC Wraith says if something goes wrong, try the Steam controller configuration tool, which I have never looked at, but I have plugged in both on mine, and there is
PS5 and Xbox. Current one.
Yeah.
Well, the Microsoft one should work. Better work.
Right, it does, exactly. I got one of those with a wireless adapter for it to plug into the USB, and I could do it wirelessly, but I just plug it in.
Okay.
I just keep a cord. I keep a USB-C cord hanging out of the box.
Yeah.
And then I grab whichever controller I want to grab, plug it in, and play.
Yeah, I think I've got like 3 USB cords, and they're set up some kind of way.
So absolutely,
I got access to
which is exactly what that's how I played that one. I had my Xbox controller, and I went, I just played it. But your PS5 controller will work for it.
Okay, so I got options for getting a controller on
definitely give that a try because it is
so,
fun to play, and I don't know, you may have
I got
gleaned that it was probably fun to play.
I got the gist of it. Yeah,
just the controls were horrible.
Yeah. It's a faster paced version of the Strike series. Really is because, like I said before, when we talked.
Did you get past that first mission? Like when you get shot down?
No, I didn't get that far. I'm just trying to get the controls right and targeting enemies and getting the thing right, getting the mouse where I wanted to go and the chopper to go where I wanted to, and getting the screen right.
Yeah, the demo works a lot like your. I don't want to say your Zelda games. But reminds me, obviously, because this is where I noticed it the most, was Darksiders, where the opening level is you with everything, your powers, your whatever, you are.
Oh yeah,
you are OP'd, you know.
OP, yeah.
And then the end of that level is you lose everything.
Yeah,
and you have to start over and grab it, and go through the entire game to get everything back.
Not a popular thing.
It's not, and this game opens with you with a really good helicopter, missiles, and whatever, and bullet and all this other stuff, and you're going around, you're taking out bases and all these things. Eventually, you get shot down or something happens, and you've got to start over. So you get hired, and you get this really janky chopper that goes around. Yeah,
it's the redemption tale.
It really seems to be. Yeah. And you got to work your way up doing these missions so that you can get a better helicopter that does different things. So that's how it seemed to work.
Yeah, something like you know what it felt like to me using the mouse and keyboard? It felt like
I have no idea because I would never dare play that with a mouse and keyboard.
It felt like a twin stick shooter.
It is in a sense, really, because one stick will move your helicopter where you need to go with. The other stick is the
aiming reticle.
It's the aiming, on the ground, and it took me a minute to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, it's an older title, but some people know it. Robotron. That's what it felt like.
For me, I would point the helicopter in the direction I wanted to shoot at, and then I would shoot, and then I realized, oh wait, if I drag this thing across the ground, I'm pretty good with that. Or if I could do the grappling hook and do whatever and pick people up or throw.
Yeah, it would allow for some really good strafing or techniques, dogfighting types, because I know there's jets involved in
there are
in the game as well.
Yeah.
So like a top down, a faster paced Soviet strike or nuclear strike from the Strike series. So that's what it felt like. So Thanks for the suggestion, because I think I'm going to have a good time with it, especially when I get the right controller.
Yeah. Definitely go back to it with a controller, and you'll have a blast with it. And I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've played this week.
Yeah, I didn't play anything. I'm trying to break my brain here and figure out what I played on last Sunday, but I know I got up and I went out and I did yard work Sunday morning, because I knew that it's only getting hotter from here.
Yeah, lawn simulator.
It's only going to get hotter from here, so I might as well go out and do it now and get that done.
Early morning or late evening?
Yeah, well, it was early morning.
Yeah, the best time, early morning or late evening, because, man, it's not
late evening for us would be somewhere around 8 o'clock, because even at 6, it's still like 90 degrees outside at 6 p.m.
I mean, look, I've had neighbors who waited till 9 o'clock at night. They got spotlights set up in the yard, and they did it then, because it was just too unforgivingly hot.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So I know I did that, and then I know I posted the show, and then I don't remember what I did. I don't think I played any demos. I don't know what I did.
Gaming wise,
yeah. No, I don't remember what I did.
Nothing on the Switch or Steam Deck or anything like that?
No. I didn't do nothing like that. Didn't play any console. I know I didn't do that.
Marvel Snap?
I mean, yeah, I did my usual Marvel Snap, and I may have done a lot more of it than what I thought. Mm-hmm. But I really didn't do a whole lot of gaming this week at all. Now, I've been playing Snap a lot this week because they have an event going on. Mm-hmm. And that event... if you go to the Marvel Snap subreddit on Reddit, if you go to the Marvel Snap subreddit, it's just called Marvel Snap, or Marvel Snap. That's what it's called. Mm-hmm. If you go to the Marvel Snap Discord, they are having they're having some player backlash, which really hasn't made any sort of news yet that I've seen, but. They did an event, which they've done events before, and I still don't see anything mentioning it here. They've done it's called a limited time game event, LTGE, I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's something that usually lasts a week, 7 days, 10 days, something like that. It doesn't last long. Like I said, it's a very limited time, and while it's out there, you're working on... you're working on a ladder of reaching all these milestones of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if you are a free-to-play player, this is a good chance for you to gain cards, gain different things that the game offers while you're playing this little thing. Free-to-play, or F2Pers, I guess? I don't know what it's called. But free-to-play people who don't put money into the game, it's a good event for them to get cards that other people are going to get as well. Mm-hmm. Except the card that they put in there, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the card itself. It's what they valued the card as. It's almost, if you took it at base value, in other words, the limited time event gives you a currency that you spend in the limited time event shop. In other words, that's the only place you can spend the currency is what you earn from this limited thing.
Seen that before too.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you take it at base, in other words, when you start the game, you have 0.
Right.
And you click on that card, you want to buy it. It says, well, you don't have enough to buy this. Do you want to supplement that with the other in-game currency, which is gold? And that stuff you can put money into to buy. Mm-hmm. You can buy gold with hard cash, from their web store or whatever. The amount related to how much gold it costs to buy the card is like $100. And that is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Now, if you play this event, the more you earn of in-game currency, the more the amount of gold to supplement starts to come down. Mm-hmm. But it still is going to cost you because the end of the event, or at least the end of the progression of the event, only gives you half of what you need to get the card. People have been doing the math, figuring things out, how much you would have to play in order to earn enough of the in-game currency in order to get the card. And it is like 36 hours a day. There's only 24 in a day. But
I was going to go along the lines of how many hours in a week, how many of those hours in that week are you going to have to spend playing this game to get what you need? And I'm guessing it's a significant amount of those hours.
It is.
So
yeah, it is. It is a lot. Now I'm playing the mode, and I've got a lot of gold just saved up because of I don't really buy anything. So I mean, I get gold from other aspects. There's gold that comes in from the game from the season pass, whatever the thing is. Yeah. You get gold from that. So, I've got a lot of gold, and I might come when I finish this thing supplement it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the feedback from if you look on Reddit and Discord, a lot of the feedback is the boycott. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying don't play the game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Take a stand and don't do that. So it's only just started because the company Second Dinner who does the game issued a statement about it. It was quite tone deaf in their statement that they issued, which a lot of people are taking that to look at, well, they're just a greedy company now.
Yeah.
This is showing that they do not care about what they've done, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I am not as passionate about that as other people are.
Mm-hmm.
So should the community leave, or should, for whatever reason, this game start going downhill in quality and in whatever else, I'd be like, all right, well, something I'm not going to play anymore.
See what the starting point was. I mean, it's the same.
And I'll tell you the reason I know that is because I don't play Monopoly Go anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play that a lot because I was tricking out the dice. I don't do that anymore. I got rid of it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Once you've lost things like Destiny,
yeah.
Once you've had addictions taken away from you like that, you can look at other things and be like, nah, that's not an addiction. That could go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can handle it.
Yeah, but I was about to say the thing that we talked about with Destiny and any other free-to-play games like that, you'll have those things where they make earning things so tedious that you break down. Basically, you break down and pay for it for convenience. And this is just another example of that, but kind of an extreme case. I mean, $100 cash-wise, pick this thing up without the event.
Mm-hmm.
So but if you play this event for a limited time only, there's the pressure. But by the time you get through with everything, you only have half of what you need to pick up that card.
Yeah, it's not great.
So that's it's just an example of that. Just make it tedious, so then break down and buy it.
It is. It's not great. So I know I've done Marvel Snap.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think that I played anything else last week. I could be completely wrong, but I'm trying to go in my head to figure out maybe what I played. I know I bought The Altars.
Mm-hmm. Puzzler?
This will sound strange. Survival management. Not usually something I'm into.
Yeah, well, if the game is interesting enough, no matter what the genre, you'll give it a shot.
Well, the demo, there was a demo for it about, I don't know how long ago, and I played it, and I talked about how really cool it was.
Mm-hmm.
Runs really well on my system, and likely runs well on a lot of people's systems. It's pretty good as far as it's pretty optimized, very well. Mm-hmm. It looks really good when you're playing it. Basically, you crash land on this planet, and your entire crew dies. You're the only survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You get back to your base. You start, getting things back online at the base and all this other stuff, and you go out to the planet and you start scavenging. But you only have a certain amount of time to be out there scavenging because of the amount of radiation in your suit and everything else has a limited amount. So you have to go out, scavenge, get back to the base before, within a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a thing of like, well, there's a thing for me to grab. There's resources for me to get outside. Oh, I see some down there. I wonder if I have time to get over there and get it and then get back and everything else. One of those little things. Eventually, it comes to the altars part. And I've talked about this on the show ever how long ago it was that I talked about this. There comes a point in the game when you clone yourself. And then you start cloning yourself and cloning yourself and cloning yourself to take care of these other things that have to be taken care of, to maintain this survival. And so you add on like your base. The base that you have reminds me a lot of Fallout Shelter. I don't know if you remember that.
2D.
It was 2D, but
yeah.
you could see your base, and you could plant like this is going to be the kitchen, this is going to be the bedrooms, the barracks, or this is going to be all the storage.
The rooms of the structure.
Yeah, exactly.
Screen, yeah.
Same thing here. You do this because you build different quarters and things like that for your your altars to go into. The catch on that is that when you make your altar, I can't remember if the game does this or if you do it, but it goes through the timeline of this main character's life. I mean, from like birth to where he's at now. Mm-hmm. And there are certain points where you can, here's where he decided not to run away from home. And that got me to where I am now. So let me go back to that point and branch off where I did decide to run away from home, and let me get that guy. And then I pull him in. And he has a much different life path than I had. And throughout the life of getting married, taking a job somewhere else, there's all these different life paths. So the more you make clones of yourself, the more you diverge from the main timeline of your life. And you talk to these guys who have, you talk to a guy who's like, no, I had a great life with your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we never did that. Or the argument that may have caused the divorce. He's like, yeah, I was in the wrong, and I admitted it, and we worked it out, and, we're better for it. Whereas, your guy stood his ground and said, I'm not going to do that. And then the relationship fell apart. Mm-hmm. A bunch of different things. Bunch of different parts in your timeline, and you have these conversations. And a lot of the management is having those conversations with your altars to keep them, I don't want to say placated, but in other words, I
want to say stable so that you'll all survive.
In a sense, yes. Mm-hmm. Because one of the in-game scenarios is that your altars decide that they don't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. They're like, you're too negative, or you're too this, or you're too that, and they decide that they don't need you anymore. And the game can end that way. Mm-hmm. Where your altars have decided that you're, impeding the project, and, they've decided that you don't need to be a part of it anymore.
So it's one of them, another one of those playing with time and see what happens type things, or
right, yeah. And you've got to keep up. You've got to make food for them. You've got to, the base needs the oxygen for them, and they need beds, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got to engineer somebody that can cook. You've got to engineer somebody that can mine. You've got to engineer a doctor. I say a doctor, but a scientist, a medical person, all these different guys that you've got to make. It's by the same developers, 11-bit Studios, I think.
Yeah, 11-bit Studios.
Yeah. It's the same guys that did this War of Mine. Mm-hmm. That is and likely is one of the genuinely most depressing games to ever play. That I'm not saying that it is bad because of that. I'm just saying the content, especially the DLC, when it's this War of Mine, and then it's like, here's the children. Here's how the children had to deal with this. It's basically survival management during war.
Yeah.
And then the children during war. It's really, really just depressing. Altars is not quite going in there, but and it's also cheap. It's $25. Or at least, for the most part, you can find it on alternate shops, not necessarily Steam. I think it's $30 on Steam. Mm-hmm. But, in some of the key sellers and all this other stuff, you can find it at legit places for like $25, $24. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it says it's on, was it 10% off, but it's $31.49 right now.
Yeah, you can find it. I think I picked it up for $24. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can get it quite on the cheap there if you're interested in it. And what did I pick up today? Today I picked up Cast and Chill. Just really liked Cast and Chill. It was on sale. It was like $15.
Yeah, the fishing one, right?
Yeah. Actually, I bought two games. I bought a VR game I think it's called Lethal VR. It was 83 cents.
Not a big loss if it's bad.
I don't know, but it was made by Three Fields Entertainment. They're the guys who did Dangerous Golf, Dangerous Driving, and they're people who used to work for Criterion.
Yeah.
Alex Ward and his crew, who worked on the Burnout series, and they did a VR game with gun stuff. So I was just like, it's on my wish list. Oh, it's 83 cents. I haven't played VR in forever, but I'm picking that up just to support them. Mm-hmm. So I absolutely did that. So, yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to I had a comment there from somebody saying that the episode isn't up from
last week.
From last week. Of course, this is only... What season is this? This is season 19. This only goes to season 11. Where? I'll look at that during the break and figure that out. I honestly can't remember what else I played, if I played anything at all last weekend. It just seems weird that I wouldn't have. But sometimes I can get into an internet hole that, I'll just sit there going through stuff and just completely eat up time.
Yeah.
And then before I know it, it's like 2 p.m. It's like, man, I'm not going to play anything else. So I just, I'm not sure.
No more with Clear Obscure?
I finished that.
Okay, you finished it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I finished that. I haven't gone back to Assassin's Creed Mirage. I suppose I could, but I really haven't felt the draw to go back to it. It's there, but I just haven't felt the draw to go do it.
Yeah, I've been there before. Having titles that's sitting there waiting to play and just like to draw, or that it's going to be a time sink.
Yeah,
when you go into that.
Didn't necessarily feel like a time sink, but I felt like the loop was getting repetitive or getting old. They're like, okay, now I understand how this works. When I first discovered how it works, that drew me in because suddenly I figured out, oh, this is how I progress. Now I know what to do, but it's the same thing every time. And I just thought, do I want to go back into that? I'm not really paying attention much to the story. It's just not hooking me.
Yeah.
Just not doing it. So, I can't think of anything else that I played. Maybe I put some more demos on and played those. I don't remember. But, not much that I can think of that I played. So, anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll dump into the news here and see what's going on. I'm also going to check our YouTube channel because Condor IM on Discord says that he uploaded during today's show, or he said he uploaded during today's show, but it's not showing up for me on their channel, so I need to go find that. We'll be right back with more of In-Game Chat here in just a moment. We have got music here. It's the more recent games. We're still, though, in like November, December of last year. This is Raven's Watch is the name of this game, and it is the main theme from that game. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. Welcome back into In-Game Chat. You're hearing music from Marvel Rivals. This is the Tokyo 2099 Showdown music. Because of course it is. It's got that Asian flair in it. Yeah, welcome back to the show. Oh my goodness, going into the news. What do we have? I kind of, so like there's the marathon stuff that we were talking about kind of late into last week. And oddly enough, I remember seeing something saying that, marathon's going to get released by end of fiscal year 2026, or so March, by March of next year it gets released. But I was curious because I hadn't seen anything about a delay. I remember they had a September date, but I never read anything about we're not making that date. Well, they announced it like Sunday or Monday of last week that, it may not have been. It may have been middle of the week. They're like, the marathon is delayed. And it says it's delayed indefinitely in response to passionate fan feedback. So we've got that in the news. And Borderlands 4. I think we can talk about Borderlands 4 for a minute. Got some hefty PC specs that I've marked in there. Not that I'm interested in it because, I'm probably not going to be playing that.
Are we talking about back when Crysis, how much was required?
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's like it's Borderlands. It was never really a hog of resources.
Right.
Cell shading, that sort of thing. It was never really something that would hog your resources. The minimum requirement for your memory is 16 gig, but the recommended is 32 gigs of RAM. Most people just stick with 16. But now they're like, no, you need 32 in there. Graphics, you need at least a 3080. In fact, the additional notes, it says requires a 64-bit processor and operating system. Those are a dime a dozen. That's fine. However, it also requires 8-plus CPU cores for your processor and 12-plus gigs of VRAM on your graphics card. A 3080 alone only has 10. Actually, a 3080 alone has 6 or 10. I can't remember. The one that I got has more than what the normal one has. I got an EVGA RTX 3080. Something about that either makes it a 12 or it's a 10, and regular 3080s are 6. I cannot remember. But anyway, it's kind of hefty, that sort of thing. And as far as the recommended is concerned, it's kind of hefty for that. The specs we shared earlier and the stats are reproduced below. Though it looks like there isn't much wiggle room for the storage, the 64-bit processor and the 8 CPU cores, there may be some for the processor and graphics chips. As noted by PC Gamer, the minimum requirements would accept an AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT, which does not support ray tracing like the RTX 2070. That suggests that ray tracing support isn't necessary for the graphics chip. Let's see. Earlier this week, post-launch plans, there's a $130 Super Deluxe Edition for the game. Man, that's a lot.
Well, as opposed to a collector's edition that was like running $300 for some big titles back in the day.
The other thing, and the more important part of the whole thing, was that the price tag was finally revealed. You were able to pre-order, and it's $70. Originally, we were thinking it was going to be $80, but it's $70. Do we feel good about that? Yeah. 50, and I would have said, you know what, Borderlands 4? I might consider it if more people are there that I know playing it, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the price of the current console games now, right? 70?
Seemingly. Yeah. Well, 80 is what the current... 80.
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about PS5, Xbox. They're $69.99.
Right, but now they're going up to 80
for the...
Which is why we kind of thought that's what we were going to get out of Borderlands 4, but it wasn't going to cost 80, it was going to cost 70. Pre-orders went live on June 16th.
Yeah, see, I'm still at the $69.99 price, wait for a price drop, and get it eventually. But now they're trying to up the standard to 80, so...
Yeah.
Which will still make me go into the wait for a price drop mentality on that one.
When 2K finally confirmed that Borderlands 4 is only $70, after all the hoopla and the online drama between Pitchford talking about, It's $80. You'll find a way to buy it if you really want it. It turns out the game is going to cost what nearly every other AAA video game in 2025 costs today, which is $70. Was any of that worth it in the end? Not really, but at least Borderlands 4 isn't going to hold the game hostage and force you to pay a ransom fee to play a few days earlier. So, yeah. $70 is still kind of like... Look, $70 is $70. It's the typical price for a game of Borderlands like that's going to release. It's going to cost that much. Mm-hmm. That's why I love seeing a game like The Altars, even Claire Obscure. That was, a $40 or $50 game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's why I like to see those games come in.
With quality.
With quality.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it. You're paying for the quality.
Yeah, so basically people look at a game like Clear Obscure, and they're like, okay, you can put this much quality at this price?
Yeah.
Why can't you?
Good point. That's a great point. And so, I don't know. All of that either got them more in the news so people paid more attention to it. Maybe you're throwing out the 80 so that when it hits 70, you think, hey, look, it's not 80, it's only 70. You can pay the money to buy it or something like that. I don't know. I also don't care because I'm not a Borderlands guy. I used to be.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a while back. A lot of folks fell out of Borderlands after 2.
For me, it was after 2, yeah. Because we played, I think it was you and me, and I don't know, we played one on the console.
Played 2, and then I think it was the pre-sequel where I checked out.
It was 2 where I checked out because I got into it so late that everybody else had moved on. And by moved on, I don't mean moved on to another game. They had just gone through so much of the game that there was nothing they could do for me because here I am at the starting point and they're way ahead.
Yeah.
And it was the train had already left the station, and I was just like, here I am with nobody around to play with, and. Yeah. That was, and you can play it single player, but man, that's once you've had that taste of
built for multiplayer,
co-op.
Yeah.
Once you've had that taste of 4-player co-op, it's hard to go back to single serve, and so I wasn't happy with that, and so I never followed because I never did 2, and then I never got into the pre-sequel stuff. I never did 3. I didn't
get into 3. Yeah, I didn't.
Well. That was a botch in and of itself since they only released on Epic Game Store. For PC players, it had that 1-year exclusivity on Epic Game Store. And a whole bunch of people said, no, wait for Steam. And then by the time it released on Steam, you were like, nah, I got other stuff. Yep. The momentum was gone.
Yeah.
You got to. It's one of those things. Strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah. If you weren't going to get it then, why get it now?
Mostly, yeah. And so that's where we are with the Borderlands. Oh my God, it's Borderlands. Lethal Migrant says giving Randy Pitchford $0 seems like the right price. I would kind of agree with you. I would pay him to not make Borderlands 4. I'd be like, make another Brothers in Arms. That was Gearbox. I don't know if that was Randy, but that was Gearbox. Make another Brothers in Arms. That's me throwing out one of their other game franchises they did. Don't make something original again. Do something new. Don't do a sequel. Don't do a port. Do something new. Gearbox came onto the map when they were the ones who ported Halo to the PC, which, to go into the backstory of that, is just, there's irony there because Halo was originally built not for PC but for Macs. And then Microsoft bought Bungie and said, we're releasing a console and we want you to take that game that you were working on for the Mac, put it out on our system. Our console system we're going to be releasing. And they did, and that was the big thing. The big draw was like Halo on the Xbox. And so, but originally that was made for the Mac, likely to be released on PC as well, Mac and PC.
Right.
But that never happened. And then, oddly enough, they released it on an Xbox machine, and then it took a company like Gearbox to port it to the PC. It's very strange to think about now. But back then, yeah, a PC company got a different company to make the port of the game that was already, whatever. Gets confusing a little bit there. So, yeah. But I would agree with Lethal Migraine. I will pay you money to make something else. Whether it be another sequel to some other franchise that you've left vacant because you keep running down these Borderland roads. Which I get it. You got a movie deal out of it that didn't do great.
Yeah. Had star power, just didn't do good at the box office.
I absolutely think that could work as an animated series.
Yeah.
It's already cel shaded. They've already got things like Tales from the Borderlands, that sort of thing, that's sort of whatever. You look at Devil May Cry and Castlevania, things like that. I think you could pull off an animated Borderlands series. I think you could. Especially with what they do. They're vault hunters. You know? Every episode is an adventure on their way to the vault.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the run of so many shows from ever how long ago. Was like, yeah, they're in search of this, and every episode is them searching for this. And they never find the thing until they get canceled, and they have to make an episode where they either find the thing or they just never find it.
A series finale or something.
Right, exactly.
Either they find the thing or the thing they were looking for never existed.
Yeah, it was the MacGuffin thing, whatever. It was always that way. So sure, you could totally make a series out of that. But I think you've tainted the brand.
Yeah.
I think Randy's tainted the brand a lot, but I think they've tainted the brand in the sense of what they did with Borderlands 3 was the start. You would probably go back to the pre-sequel and say, no, it started there, and likely it did. I just don't remember the zeitgeist around it. I don't remember the conversation being held around it at that time, but I do remember the blowback they got for getting that exclusive deal on Epic Game Store. Nobody liked Epic Game Store. This is a couple of years back.
Yeah.
They were like, I'm not doing the Epic. For whatever reason, people were, what's the thing? Brand loyal to a store, to an online store. Like it's Steam or nothing for me. I don't want to put another storefront on my PC.
Yeah.
I never really understood that. But there were a lot of people who just said, well, if it's not on Steam, I'm not getting it, you know, because either they wanted their achievements or they wanted whatever it was, but if it wasn't there, they're not doing it. And so I think that's when they started to taint the brand. Didn't sell very well, and then when it finally got a release on PC, the momentum had gone. It still didn't do very well. Some people did pick it up, but still didn't do very well. The movie tanked, obviously, and now... we'll see how this goes. It'll be interesting to see how this sells. I don't necessarily think this is a make or break point for Gearbox. It, however, might be a make or break point for the Borderlands franchise. Might be a point where they look at it and say, we've got to either reinvent it or we've got to just move on to something else. Let Borderlands live in its own thing and let's work on something new. Or something from, our past library of stuff. Let's go back to the well. So yeah, that's my thinking, because I just don't think it's going to be that successful. But we'll see. Could be a drought of nothing around that area. You know what I'm saying? The release date could be just nothing going on. They could do some really good hype for this thing. I have no idea, and it could pull in the draw in the players. I don't know.
Maybe between a decent amount of advertising and picking your spot, like you said.
Yeah.
If you don't try to compete with anything around that same time. So, yeah, but like I said, it wasn't the availability of 3 that got me. It was like what took me out of
well, yeah, because you would have done it on console, right?
Yeah, I would have done it on console. But what took me out was I couldn't really. There was no characters that I could really get into. I could really get into the support characters for 1 and 2, Roland and Axton, and those games respectively. But pre-sequel, you're playing the villains from the past, and I was like, there's no one I could really
I never jumped into the pre-sequel,
play as.
I'm not sure.
And 3, I saw the roster of characters there. It was like no real, like same thing. The characters, I could not get into the characters of the game for 3, and I just. Well,
they also released that other game that I can't remember. That was Gearbox that released that other game that was Borderlands-esque, right? You remember the one?
Battleborn.
Battleborn, right?
Yeah.
That was Gearbox, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Feels like a Gearbox game. Yeah, probably was. It was.
Again, I don't want to say that tainted the brand, but they sort of made a Borderlands clone. They cloned their own type of game and made it kind of similar. Although I think it was more closer to like an Overwatch than it was.
It was an Overwatch like.
Yeah.
But
because
they competed directly against each other, and Overwatch, of course, took it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing was that the style of it made it look like Borderlands.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like a Borderlands game, but it was the style of it was the gameplay and everything was like Overwatch.
Yeah.
Team shooter or whatever. But yeah, went up against it and lost.
Yeah, speaking of like whatever you were saying earlier about the time of release and that sort of thing about how you're going to release your game, we're going to get into that with Marathon, because if they are holding true to releasing by March of next year, we'll get to this. We'll talk about this when we come back from the break here. Your window of opportunity begins to close around that time, around March. Your window of opportunity of having a successful launch of a game starts to dwindle the further you get into March, more so than when you get into April, and then it's all gone by the time you get to May of next year, assuming GTA 6 hits their mark.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that as far as there's a gamble here from Sony or Bungie, one of the two, of how long you're putting off this game.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it need to go back into the oven? How long before you release it? Because you're going to run into a brick wall the further you wait. I don't even mean a brick wall. I just mean an immovable. It's just
big wall of tungsten.
You are not going through it. It is not going to budge. You are not going to put a dent in it. You're not going to scratch it. In fact, you're going to cut yourself. It's going to hurt you by the amount of people who are not going to buy your game. So anyway, we're going to get into that next hour here, and we'll also talk about, we got some Switch news as well. What else? Warner Brothers Games, Expedition 33 was there to talk about as well, and some life stuff I'll get into also to let you know kind of what's going on with me and what's going on in the next coming weeks here as well. So we'll be back with more of In-Game Chat here in just a few. Again, we're coming from the November-December releases. Late November. We may just be all December at this point. I don't remember. But I know definitely for this one, came out early December for this next game. This is from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle that released. Got some DLC coming up at some point for that game. This is called A New Adventure Awaits. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat right after this. Welcome back into In-Game Chat. This is music from Lego Horizon. This is called Alloy's Adventure Theme. It's probably a fun little game. The Lego games have always been fun.
Mm-hmm.
But welcome back, and we got Lethal Migraine saying Battleborn was considerably better than Overwatch. Unfortunately, the wrong game succeeded. Yeah, well, it probably couldn't get out of the shadow of Borderlands. I'm telling you, there was a weird Borderlands aesthetic to it, or some kind of.
No, it was a game that it looked like Borderlands played. No,
but it played like Overwatch.
It played like Overwatch. It was a fun title. Yeah, it was very good. Had a lot of mix of different characters, weapons, skills, and abilities, just like Overwatch. But something I noticed back then, the Overwatch had a heck of a advertising run, blitz. Basically.
Oh, of course, yeah, it was Blizzard,
all over the place. So,
it was. Yeah, I mean, it was Activision Blizzard, man.
Mm-hmm.
They were always going to have that. I think the publisher for that was 2K, though, right? For Overwatch, isn't that where Gearbox is under 2K? I think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gearbox publisher was 2K.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, good game. Just couldn't compete with the resources of Overwatch.
No, let's talk about Sony in the marathon department here. Well, Bungie, I guess, in the marathon department. It's odd how I keep driving by Bungie's house really slow. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where it's like, look, I'm done with you, but I keep kind of looking over in your direction. Like, what are you doing?
You remember that scene in Raising Arizona?
Yeah.
Nick Cage is riding by the convenience stores far away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's just, what am I doing? I don't know. I keep up with it. I keep up with some of it. I don't keep up with I already left I don't know if I did leave the Reddit community for Destiny or not, but if I didn't, it doesn't show up on my page anymore.
Yeah.
Very rarely does it show up unless it's or unless it's I don't know what it is. But every now and again I'll get a Destiny story and it's something about like the new release of the expansion, or there was a oh god, what do they call them? A dev diary thing.
Okay.
For whatever. So anyway, this is from PC Gamer. Says Marathon is delayed days after PlayStation studio boss admitted that playtester response to Marathon had been varied. Bungie has announced a delay and says a new release date will be shared in the fall. Here's the quote. Through every comment and real-time conversation on social media and Discord, your voice has been strong and clear, Bungie wrote in today's announcement. We've taken this to heart, and we know we need more time to craft Marathon into the game that truly reflects your passion. After much discussion with our dev team, we've made the decision to delay the September 23rd release. It goes on. The alpha test created an opportunity for us to calibrate and focus the game on what will make it uniquely compelling. Survival under pressure, mystery and lore around every corner, raid-like in-game challenges, and Bungie's genre-defining FPS combat. We're using this time to empower the team to create the intense high-stakes experience that a title like Marathon is built around. This means deepening the relationship between the developers and the game's most important voices, our players. That's the statement they issued. And it sounds exactly like a statement issued from a company would sound. Carefully crafted.
Yeah. Who, like I said, who wrote this?
Looked over by quite a lot of different people before released.
Mm-hmm.
And then saying, no, change that word to this, change this to that, change this. Okay, now you're good. Now release it.
Yeah, what PR firm wrote this for you? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Closed testing will continue. This is back to the article. Closed testing will continue with an immediate focus on an array of topics from improving encounters, rewards and combat to better graphics, a darker tone, improved gameplay for singles and duos, and the addition of proximity chat. Notably, something Bungie said just 2 months ago that it purposely excluded because of the way it enables toxic behavior. But now they're going to put it back in. All told, it sounds like the studio's focus for improvements will be on, well, pretty much everything. Not a great state for what's meant to be Bungie's next big thing, especially when it's this deep into development. You were going to be released in 3 months. 3 months to, what, Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 months from Monday you were going to be released. And now it's like, let's step back.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, 3 months until release, people have done that. They've pulled back. They've, reframed everything. They've, usually they don't delay it like that. They just push it back later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not this year at all.
Yeah. The indefinitely thing, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that Bungie can't even provide a new release target at this point and won't be able to for at least a few more months is even more worrying. Bungie said it will share an update on its progress this fall along with a new release date, which could wind up sometime in 2026. A Game and Network Services document released last week pegged Marathon for release in Sony's 2025 fiscal year, but that doesn't end until March 31st, 2026. And that's all that's all the article goes into. Assuming you release March 31st, 2026, assuming you release March 15th, 2020, I don't know. Pick one.
Mm-hmm.
You've got about a month before you're done. Before your players are going to abandon your game to go play GTA 6. They'll come back to it, but maybe. Or, because they know GTA 6 is on the horizon, they won't even start.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. We don't know the cost of the game. There's no price on it yet. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know for this. We don't have a release date anymore. We do know that there was a just massive amount of plagiarism going on from art assets that were being used in the game without creator permission.
Yeah.
Not just without creator permission, but without creator compensation for using it either. That could get them, wind up in, I would say legal battles, but probably not anything legal. I don't think the people that they took from actually have any sort of recourse to do anything with it. They absolutely do have, reason to do that should they try.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big ask for some internet artist or artist in general on the internet to say, hey, can you pay a lawyer and go through this with this massive company corporation?
Yeah.
You're probably in the clear, but ugh.
Yeah. What's the tactic of the big company against the individual consumer?
Yeah.
Delay, stall.
Right, because that'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like I can't afford to pay my lawyer anymore. I can't afford to keep going through this.
Your Honor, we asked for an extension. Why?
I know.
Well, we can't say why. You know why.
Let me see what Eurogamer had to say. I got 3 different articles talking about this. We brought up the IGN article earlier, but this one comes from Eurogamer. Chance for Bungie. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. As it looks to get married, Bungie is hold close testing over the next few months, updating the survival game, more challenging, doubling down on the Marathon universe, increased visual fidelity, adding more social experiences. None of this mentions going back and changing out the art. I was just kind of skimming the article because there's no mention of that to go back and look at. Because it's interesting that in all these lists of changes, none of it talks about, we're going to change the look. And it's really not much of a look that needs to be changing. We just need to take out all this art that we stole. We need to put something else in there.
Yeah.
But it was an aesthetic defining art that they used. Mm-hmm. In other words, the art they stole, most of the other art that they created or used was based on that style, that aesthetic. And so now they find themselves in a predicament. Quite a little pickle, as it were. So we'll see how that goes. Before I jump into the Switch news, which I'll probably do when we come back from the break, I meant to tell there's a couple of little personal things to talk about. Way back in 2010, I was in Pennsylvania, I think. Where's Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, right?
Bethlehem?
Yeah, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. That's in Pennsylvania, right?
Got internet, let's see.
I know. I'm not geography. I suck at geography.
America in general, so.
I suck at geography. No, I'm not even that.
Bethlehem, city in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. No, I suck at geography around here. People will be like, "Oh, don't you go down this such and such road?" And I'm like, "Which one is that one?" It's the thing over there near the gas station. Oh, that gas station. Yeah. Okay, that's that road. Okay, I know where that is. But I suck with geography.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was in Bethlehem. I was marrying a friend of. I was doing the officiating.
You were performing the ceremony.
Yeah, for a friend of mine, two friends of mine, the bride and the groom, and the groom, Jason Cooper, is working on his own game. He has started working on his own game. He has his own company, and he's working on a game. And we're going to have him on. He had hit me up about, talking about coming on, and I said, well, we're going to have 2 weeks of E3 stuff to go through, so let's push it back. And then he talked about, well, we're also going to launch a Kickstarter. And I said, ooh, come on when we launch the Kickstarter so I can give you press about that. I want to have you on before then. I don't want to lose the momentum, so when you come in, when you come on, we'll do that. So he is releasing a game. I feel like it's a twin-stick shooter, but I'm not sure. But we'll talk to him about it closer. I think the launch of that is sometime in August when it's going to launch the Kickstarter for it. And so there's that. Also, it's kind of a gloat, but it's also kind of I totally forgot that I had done this. About 15 or 16 years ago, maybe even longer, a friend of mine who I met on LiveJournal of all places, way back when LiveJournal was a thing. He was a former employee of Criterion. Worked on Burnout 3 Takedown. Mm-hmm. He left them and went to work for Codemasters. And he worked on, I think, one of their rally games that they did, the racing stuff. But earlier then, he was working on the Overlord series. Overlord and Overlord 2. Then he went off and did his own thing. He's got a game on Steam called Fortress Craft Evolved. Mm-hmm. But last year he released a game, and I've got the game, and I guess he gave me a code for it, but I completely forgot to mention this. He released a game last year called Mothership Forever. It is a space shooter wave thing, of enemies coming in and you got to do a thing. It's called Mothership Forever. I had forgotten that he had gotten me to record voice lines for that game. And so I think I'm in that game just talking to you as a player how to do whatever it is you got to do.
You give it tutorials?
I think so. Like I'll talk about, press this or do that. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I totally forgot about this. He hit me up the other day saying that, hey, I'm trying to get this game released on Xbox now. And I've heard your voice so many times while trying to work on this game over the past. He's been working on it for like 14 years.
That's on the Steam page, yeah.
Yeah. It's called Mothership Forever. I have no idea how good it is or whatever. I haven't played it. I do own it, but I just haven't played it.
It says mostly positive on all reviews.
Well, that's great. Mm-hmm. Fortress Craft Evolved is like a huge success for him. Mm-hmm. That did very well for him. And anyway, I talked to him, and he was talking about maybe coming on the show, and I'll definitely try and get him on to come talk to us about it. But I'm in there. I don't know how many lines of dialogue I recorded, but it's something I recorded like 15, 16, 17 years ago. And I remembered it when he mentioned it, but I had completely forgotten about it. Mm-hmm. But it's out there, and so, yeah, you want to play a game that's got my voice in it, there you go.
Suddenly, Mothership Forever reaches number one.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, its numbers will pick up.
From your lips. Exactly.
Hey, sometimes you got to speak it into existence, man.
Yeah, I know. All right, so then there's the other. Oh, I hear a dog. I'm a human. No, you're not. Yeah. I tell you what, we'll take a break here, and then when we come back, I'll jump into the rest of it. We'll be back with more of in-game chat right after this. This is from, what is this, MMPR? Oh, Power Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back. And welcome back into in-game chat. That is music from Behemoth. There's a VR title.
Okay.
But it's produced, or I say produced, the publisher or developer is Skydance. And they do, it's, you're fighting giants. It's kind of interesting, but not something I would do because I have that megalophobia, whatever it is, thing that I have. Fear of giant structures. And VR triggers like you would not believe.
Yeah.
Whoa. It's bad enough in some of the in like some videos and things like that, but VR really gets me on that one. My fear of giant structures.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about like giant structures.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not necessarily tall buildings. Tall buildings doesn't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly tall statues would do it.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I don't know why, but it just gives me
something like a Statue of Liberty or the Christ the Redeemer in Rio.
Oddly, Christ the Redeemer is likely, mostly because it's way the hell up top.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily because it is giant. I mean, it is, but it's also because it's so high in the air.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's the Statue of Freedom, which I think is in, I don't know, I don't think it's in China. India, somewhere? I don't remember what it's called. It's the largest statue ever built. And I think it's called the Statue of Freedom. I remember these things because I know my fears. I know what to watch out for and what I see that it's like. And I think it's more of humanoid likenesses that are massive.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit curious about what's going to happen when I go see Fantastic Four and Galactus shows up. But yeah, there was a couple of scenes in, and you likely didn't see it, but another Marvel movie called The Eternals.
Yeah.
Where Arsham shows up.
Statue of Unity.
Unity, not Freedom. Statue of Unity.
Located in India.
Yes.
Largest statue stands at 182 meters.
Whatever that is in freedom units, I don't know. But
300 feet tall.
Yeah, 300 feet tall. But he's just massive.
597 feet.
I was about to say, I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong section. Sorry. Yeah, 597 feet.
Yeah, that was Behemoth. The song before that was from the arcade Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Revenge thing. That was that.
Yep.
Hey, buddy. Yeah. I'm dog sitting this week. So, got a dog in the studio. That's always fun. Yeah, buddy. Hey, kid. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, it's your good boy. Yes, you are. Hi. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, I was talking about that, and we're talking about my friends who are making games. And then I'll tell you about what's going on with me, and I'll probably remind you for next week's episode. Obviously, we are taking a break on the 4th of July weekend here in the United States. 4th of July is on a Friday, so we will not be doing a show on Saturday the 5th. The following week, we may or may not do a show. I don't know. I finally got looked at with what's going on with me. Remember, I was talking to you about my issue with I can't play mouse and keyboard anymore because of my arm, because of all these different things that are going on with me. So I finally had an MRI, finally found all that stuff out. I have spinal stenosis, which is my spinal cord is being pressured. It's being clamped by
pinch.
Pinched by some of the bones in my spinal column. And so Tuesday the 1st, I'm having surgery to fix that. I timed it that way so that I knew we wouldn't be doing a show that Saturday, so I'll have recovery time on that. We'll see how I do as far as doing a show the following week. I don't know. I may or may not be up for it. I have no idea. I don't know what the recovery on this particular surgery is going to be done. I also don't know how I'm going to sound because they are going to go through my neck. They're going to go in through my neck. They will put in a tube or something for me to be through the vocal cords and things like this. So I don't know how I'm going to sound once I get out of this. How long it's going to take me to get my voice back or better than what it may sound like after it's over with. So I don't know how that's going to be. But Tuesday the 1st, and they haven't called back to give me a time yet on when that's happening. But Tuesday the 1st is when I'm going in for surgery on this. And luckily that's going to fix, hoping that will fix my balance issues. It'll fix what's going on with my hands and my fingertips and my arms and stuff like that's going on. It's all because of this. It's screwing up my nerves, and it's throwing everything off. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not scared about the surgery or anything. So I mean, if you're worried about that, don't be. The doctor that I have, very, very calm, cool, really explained everything to me. So I'm not worried about that at all. I'm only concerned about the recovery period afterwards.
The recovery period afterwards,
not necessarily about pain or anything like that, but how long am I going to have to be, how careful am I going to have to be about moving around? I can't lift things. They're like, don't lift stuff, don't do this, don't strain your back, don't eat things that are going to, scratch your throat.
I was thinking about how you're going to sleep. Do you have to change your sleep position? Because
probably on my back. Like I normally sleep.
Okay, you normally sleep on your back, okay.
Yeah, I wear a CPAP.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And most of the time, flat on my back.
Okay.
Because that thing, when I have my mask on, it's just, I'm out. Yeah.
Okay.
Lately, it's been a little hard because of the pain I'm going through.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping after this, and I know with the painkillers they give me, I'll probably be all right. So yeah. But that's the situation going on with me. We're fine this week. We're fine next week. Next weekend. But after that, I'll keep you posted on our Twitter and stuff like that. We'll definitely let you know if we're going to do a show or not, and we'll see how that goes. So, anyway, just wanted to give you an update on my situation for those who are curious about that. Now, back into some news. I still, and this is something I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks, I'll be charging my Steam Deck and getting it ready to go. Right?
Yep.
In case I'm bedridden. I have to spend one night in the hospital. At least. This is one of those things where it's like, we're going to do this to you, and then you've got one night you have to stay in the hospital.
You got to stay for observation,
Yeah, overnight, make sure everything's good the next day, and then we'll let you go. So I'm going to be in the hospital at least one night. So I'm going to get my Steam Deck all nice, updated, and charged, and ready to go. What I haven't done is popped open that Switch 2. That is still in the box. I have not gotten around to doing what I got to do to get that thing going. Not necessarily that I will, because I really only have one game to play on it.
Yeah.
Although Mario Kart World should keep me busy enough. There's a lot in that. It's one of the big open things. It should keep me busy enough to do what I got to do with it. But it's also backwards compatible. So I've still got like Mario Odyssey, Link's Awakening. I've got plenty of other games I can toss in there. And are you playing with Chase over there?
No, yeah. Chase has been over here for the past 10 minutes.
Oh, buddy, you made a friend. Yeah, Chase is everybody's friend. So anyway, yeah, I've got to get all that stuff ready to go so that, while I'm in the hospital or while I'm just having to lay in bed and recoup, I'll have my entertainment there with me. So
yeah,
I'm going to catch up on so many shows and movies. I say that. I honestly hope it's a quick recovery period. And you might be thinking, oh, yes, you can get back to playing your games. You might be thinking that. I honestly hope it's a quick recovery period so I can get back to work. Not necessarily because I know what happens when I miss a couple of days. It gets backed up. I have a lot of catching up to do. Yeah. And so I really just don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to come back and do that. So
yeah, I know the feeling.
I also, back when I had COVID too, I was out for a month, right? Mm-hmm. By the time that was over with, I was ready. I was like, God, please, can I go back to work? Mm-hmm. Just to have that routine again and to have the stuff that I have to do, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I want. So I'm really hoping it's not a thing.
Like I said, I know the feeling, man, because if I take vacation or time off and then stuff builds up while you're away, you got to come back to it. That's why every time I go on vacation, I try to get everything done and out the way before I go, because I know I'm going to have something waiting for me when I get back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The reason I brought up the Switch 2 was because I was looking at some news articles about the Switch 2. They're both good and bad. So, we got one article that says the Nintendo Switch 2 set an all-time launch record for hardware in the U.S., beating out the PS4. During its first week, it sold 1.1 million Nintendo Switch units. Wait, let me back that up.
Well.
The record was the PS4, but it doesn't tell me what that had. In the U.S., almost 80% of players who purchased a Nintendo Switch 2 also purchased Mario Kart World, either as a standalone physical game or as part of the bundle, which included the game as a pack-in title. According to some data, Circana data, the three best-selling physical games during the Switch 2's launch week were Cyberpunk, Mario Kart World, and Tears of the Kingdom, the Switch 2 edition of that game. I actually don't have Tears of the Kingdom, so getting Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition would, sure. Yeah. The success story is much the same in Japan, where it has enjoyed a huge launch. Hardware sales data for the week ended June 8, which covers Switch 2's first 4 days, revealing that some 947,000 consoles were sold. More impressively, this data is unlikely to include sales on Nintendo's official My Nintendo store. In other words, people who ordered online from Nintendo themselves is not included in that 947,000 units. That would almost certainly put that over 1 million units sold in Japan alone.
Yeah. But now I think about that, who does that? First and foremost goes to the Nintendo directly. You think you get it in the store or something like that, right? Their first and foremost will go to their local store and pick it up and anything like that.
Well, what I noticed in forums and things like that, especially for me, when I originally did the pre-order, it was just let me make sure I get a pre-order in, just in case. Mm-hmm. If I decide to keep it, that's great. If not, whatever, doesn't matter. Just let me make sure. So when Walmart said, yeah, your pre-order's locked, and I kept checking it I didn't check it every day. A few days after, I just kept checking to make sure it still looked like, everything still seemed good, because I had heard of people getting their order canceled. I never got that problem. I was fine. Everything was good.
Okay.
I didn't worry about it. But reading threads of people who were doing that whole pre-order thing, they're like, I've got a pre-order in at Walmart, I got one at Target, I got one over here at this one, just in case anything should happen. Mm-hmm. They weren't trying to scalp. They were just trying to make sure they had a console. regardless. It's one of those things where if I pre-order from one place, wherever I pick it up, that's where I'm getting it from. The other two will just get sold to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, no harm, no foul. I didn't lose any money over it. But I got my console. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people did the same thing with Nintendo. It was another avenue. It was especially another avenue if they didn't get one at any of the box stores or the online stores or whatever the case. Nintendo was another alternative, another option. Mm-hmm. Same thing in Japan. Plenty of stores, I'm sure, had it. Plenty of online outlets, I'm sure, had it. And the Nintendo was also an option for people. The Nintendo shop itself was also an option. Mm-hmm. So they took it. The sales figure means that Switch 2 is by far the biggest console launch in Japan. According to the Game Data Library, a site that archives Japanese sales data from various sources, the previous fastest-selling console in Japan was the PlayStation 2, with just over 630,000 units sold. Think about that. 630,000 units. These guys sold 947,000 in the first 4 days. And if you mix in the Nintendo Store numbers, you're looking at over 1 million. Earlier this week, Nintendo announced the Switch 2 had sold 3.5 million units globally in its first 4 days on sale, making it the fastest-selling Nintendo system ever and likely the biggest ever console launch. By comparison, PlayStation 5 shipped, not sold, but shipped 3.4 million units in its first 4 weeks. That's shipped, not sold. Mm-hmm. The 3.5 million we talked about with the Switch 2, that was sold units.
Yeah.
That was people buying them, not getting them shipped. Let's see, in its first week of sale, and 4.5 million in its first 7 weeks. Again, shipped, not sold. Mm-hmm. The huge start for the Switch 2 will give Nintendo a boost in reaching its target of 15 million units for its first business year, or even beating this number, which many analysts predict the console will do. So that's the good news on the side of the Switch 2. I don't want to say the bad news, but third-party games are having some time. They're struggling on the system. Mm-hmm. While the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware, this is from VideoGamesChronicle.com. While the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware has enjoyed record-breaking launch sales, some third-party publishers have reportedly found that the console's success hasn't translated to a thriving third-party market yet. In a new report from The Game Business, it's claimed that other than CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077, most third-party games have struggled to sell on Switch 2. They posted very low numbers, the report reads. One third-party publisher characterized the numbers as below our lowest estimates. Despite strong hardware, think about it, 3.5 million units sold, but your title on the system has, below your lowest expectations. That doesn't necessarily mean if you got 3.5 million units sold, then they also 3.5 million of your games were sold too. That's not the same.
No, it doesn't work that way. But just off the top of my head, when you buy a Switch, you're not playing it for third-party titles, where you're playing for their Nintendo's titles mostly, right?
Possibly. It depends. You've got... was
it that way on the Switch? Because I still remember how bad Mortal Kombat 1 looked on the Switch, and people decided we are not playing it on that.
That was a good while into the Switch's lifetime, though. If you go back to the launch of the Switch, the launch of the Switch had an interesting thing because they were... Zelda was a launch title for it. Breath of the Wild was a launch title for it. And... That moved some units, Yeah. Just that alone, because it had that. It also had Mario Kart 8 as part of the launch title for it as well. It had a pretty good launch lineup of first-party titles.
First-party titles,
yeah. This one only really had Mario Kart World, which is kind of a Mario Kart 8 plus sort of thing.
Yeah.
It had these Switch 2 editions. I'm using air quotes, which you can only see on the camera. Yeah. Had these Switch 2 editions of previously released first-party titles on the old Switch.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard to kind of factor in all these different things, but looking at, again, going back and looking at forums, talking about this, some people, this is the only thing they have.
Yeah.
They don't do the Xbox stuff. They don't do the PlayStation stuff. They're strictly Nintendo. Not necessarily just for first party. That's there. But that's really where they get their games. And so Cyberpunk getting released on the Switch too. And by the way, I heard that the port on that is really pretty good.
Okay.
Really, really pretty good. Not necessarily, I mean, it's not living up to what you would see on a PC, but it's running really well for a Switch 2 console, you know, for something that is a little bit lower end, I would say. Yeah. But it seems to be doing pretty good. You're right, though. When I think of Nintendo, for me, I think I'm only there for your first-party titles.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask.
Or exclusives from other developers.
Yeah. What I was about to ask was that, can you recall any third-party titles that did well on
a Switch 2?
Yeah.
Or on a Switch at all?
The Switch or the Switch at all, yeah. Has any third-party titles done really well on the Switch?
You know, I would say yes. I only say yes because there has to be. There has to be something that's done. I mean,
I've never owned the system or anything like that. So
with that many games released for the Switch, the original Switch, there has to be a third-party title that was like, oh, it was really, it did very well.
Yeah, sold very
on
well
that console.
On the Switch, yeah.
Maybe a Sonic game. You know what I'm saying? Maybe something there that did very well on the Switch. I can't, off the top of my head or anything, I can't give you any kind of proof on that. But to kind of stick with that point, when I think of these consoles, I only really think of first-party titles. You know, when I go back to the Switch 1, I think of Zelda and Mario Kart. I think of Mario Odyssey. I think of Animal Crossing. You know, I think of Luigi's Mansion. I think of all of these things that are really just locked Nintendo. You know, when I think of what I'll be playing on the Switch 2, again, I'm stuck on first-party titles. I think of Mario Kart World. I think of the Donkey Kong game that's coming out next month that I'm actually really, really interested in. For whatever reason, that game has kind of drawn my attention. I really can't tell you why. I haven't played a Donkey Kong game in, God, forever. Probably since Donkey Kong Country, maybe. I haven't played a Donkey Kong game. I was interested in Tropical Freeze. Oh, you know what? I played Donkey Konga. I know I tried to play that. I was really bad at it. Back on the Wii U, the Wii itself. Yeah. But I really haven't touched Donkey. But there's a Donkey Kong game coming out next month, and I'm interested in that.
Just real quick, we were talking about...
There's Metroid Prime.
Metroid, yeah.
Yeah.
That was something we were talking about earlier about the sales and everything like that, but it's still pretty much available in the store. It's not like sold out, is it?
Oddly enough, I haven't been in a physical store, and when I haven't thought to look.
Okay, because I was looking at the prices of Nintendo Switch 2 on eBay right now, and
that's another thing. I didn't get into it here, but I do remember reading that it has been the resale scalper market, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
just hasn't been there.
Yeah, I mean the first one that popped up here says $1,000 for the buy it now price. I'm seeing others for $820. I don't know, something 99, but I'll just go round up to make it easy. $820, $750 says almost gone. $725. Numbers sold was 37 for the $725 one. Things like that. But yeah, $1,000 was the first one that popped up.
Hey, I haven't opened mine up yet, and I got a big medical bill coming up.
Getting ideas?
I mean, it would go a long way to help for. Oh boy.
Yeah, basically the price range I'm seeing here is from $720 to $1,000.
This wasn't water, but yeah.
For the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a resale on this thing. It's just not what I do.
Yeah,
I tried it once, PlayStation 3, I think. Didn't work.
I've done it with games, not with consoles though.
What, like done a resale for a higher value and that sort of thing? Well, I mean.
Well, what was going on was the store was going away, and they started selling all their titles for
cheap,
really low price. And I picked up 4 of one title, kept one for myself, and sold the other 3.
Yeah, okay.
And made a pretty good.
One of those rare titles that you can get. Yeah.
This was during the time when companies were competing to be the last Saturn game or something like that. So yeah, this is one of like the latest ones that came out. So I got, like I said, I got a pretty good amount of money off of that. And then then the same thing happened with Dreamcast. Everyone was competing to be the last Dreamcast game, so titles were just coming out left and right for that one.
Oh man, yeah. But that's when I think of that, I think of first-party titles. When I think of Nintendo, I think of first-party titles.
Yeah,
when I think of Xbox and PlayStation 5, not necessarily the same, although honestly, I say PlayStation 5. When I think of I don't know, I kind of think of exclusives every time I think about their own thing, with the exception of PC. Mm-hmm. But when I think about PlayStation, I'm thinking about Uncharted, God of War, Last of Us. I'm going through all of their first-party titles. Mm-hmm. I don't think of... Well, now they're getting Indiana Jones. They're getting Gears of War. They're getting... I think of it in that sense because it's amazing that they're starting to get Microsoft games on PlayStation now. Yeah,
in my case, fighting game titles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of fighting game titles. Which console are you going on? Which console are you going to put at the tournaments? Things of that nature. So plenty of third-party titles on the PlayStation, Xbox, things like that. But yeah, when it comes to Nintendo, I'm thinking the only thing that really gets any shine from my experience was the first-party titles.
Yeah,
you're going to get numbers on. They're going to get their numbers on the first-party titles, but I can't necessarily think of a third-party title that succeeded on the Switch.
But I also can't think of any that failed on the Switch. You know what I mean? Mortal Kombat might be one of them.
Well, didn't do very well.
Yeah, review-wise, obviously, it did.
They sold some copies, sure, but didn't do, like you said, below our lowest expectations.
Yeah. We are getting close to the top of the hour here and the end of the program. I wanted to make mention of... I saw something about it from Wario 64 earlier. I think it was earlier this week. Might have been last week. But I also saw a video on it yesterday, I think, last night or something like that. PlayStation, speaking of, Sony is doing a concert tour. Apparently they've been doing it over in Japan for ever how long, but now they are bringing it here to the United States. And it is just called PlayStation The Concert. It is going to be music from all sorts of games that they've got.
I'm guessing the biggest orchestral pieces from their titles or whatnot. So,
right. They're going to go into Last of Us will be there. Uncharted, Bloodborne. They'll have Journey. Astrobot is another one that they'll be having music from. These are all orchestrated and performed live with an orchestra, with also videos on stage, kind of like Video Games Live, that they've done before. So here locally, you want to check where it's going to be in your neck of the woods. But here locally, we've got an Atlanta show and there's a Huntsville show. So there's a show about 3.5 hours away north, and a show about 3.5 hours away
forward traffic
the other way. So
forward traffic going to Huntsville, and then if you drive like folks in Georgia, you're going to get there pretty.
There might be a Nashville show too. I don't remember, but I was looking for let me find the Georgia and the Alabama, and there was a Huntsville and Atlanta performance coming up later this year. So just something if you're looking for something to do game wise, there you go.
Ticket prices,
I have no idea. I haven't even looked at tickets. No clue on that. So, but yeah, if you and by the way, if you get to one of these things before it comes here, let us know how you liked it. Let us know how it was. I'd be interested to know. It looked pretty great on the little trailer for YouTube and the little making of. It looked really, really kind of cool. But I'd like to hear what people think who have been to it. So anyway, I'm going to try and get some gaming in tomorrow. About the only way I can game now is with a controller or just use a mouse. Mouse and keyboard, no. I can use a mouse, and I can use a controller, but a mouse and keyboard I can't use. I can try, but it's not fun.
Balatro.
Yeah. I can do Balatro.
Balatro could be mouse only.
Snap is good. I can play the altars because you can play with a controller, no problem. Did I play with a controller? No, for the demo I played mouse and keyboard way back when. but it says I can use a controller. Picked up Cast and Chill. I might play that. I don't know, but I do plan to actually do some gaming tomorrow. I hope to.
Fox Theater?
Yeah.
Okay, Fox Theater in October.
What do you got on ticket prices for that?
I'm trying to pull it up now.
You got to go through Ticketmaster to do it?
Ticketmaster's going to be high, isn't it?
I mean...
Yeah.
But do you have to... Yeah, I was going to say, is that what happens?
It just said pre-sale tickets for the Fox Theater in Atlanta for October 24th of 2025.
But it doesn't give you a price? You got to pick your seats, don't you?
Yeah, let's see. It says ticket limit is 8.
Well, don't put 8 down. Just put down 1. What's one ticket cost?
So buy tickets, say. So.
In some section. I have no idea. Doesn't it take forever?
Yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah, I know. Ticketmaster takes a while.
Let's see. Section main orchestra, seat availability high, $75.75 to $99.75.
So like $75?
Yeah, $75 to $130 in dead center.
Okay.
The section in front of the stage is going to be $75 to $130. $130 being very front of the stage, and then on the left and right side, it was going to be a little lower than that.
Well, the best thing about music is that you can hear it wherever you're sitting.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that I got to be right up front.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have to see your facial expressions while you're hitting that upright bass. I don't need that.
Exactly.
Let's see. I guess the back. I guess the nosebleed seats, if you want to call it that. It's $52 and a quarter. So yeah, I guess the price range is going to be from $52 to $130, depending on where you sit.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us, folks. We are headed out. This is a track you might even... Well, I doubt you'll hear this specific one at one of these shows, but this is Astrobot music, of course. That's how we close on their... I say close, but that's what we play on our more recent game weeks. This is the ice stage. Every game has one. Every platformer has an ice stage, and this is one of them. So, you guys take care. Have a great week, and we will see you next Saturday for more in-game chats. Good night.